Uh,
Can you hear me?
yeah, I can. I can- Okay.
What's that?
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just
Okay.
making sure my volume is a little bit. Yeah, I can't talk. My speaker is turned up a bit, so
Yeah.
I can't I can't pronounce things at all today. So
And
our resident of Colwood and joining me, my buddy Mark Gilman at /Barnabas. How are you, man?
good, good. Ready to talk about some Silent Hill. How are you?
I am really good. And speaking of Silent Hill, my friend,
Mhm.
they now I know this isn't Silent Hill news, but Alan Wake is getting remastered,
Mhm.
which I found interesting because to me the studio that did Alan Wake was not Konami,
Right.
but I always felt that they could do a Silent Hill.
Mhm.
So, do you think the people who did Alan Wake could?
Oh, absolutely. Alan Wake had a lot of good elements to Silent Hill, and I never actually played the game because I didn't have an Xbox, but I watched someone play it for several hours, and Alan Wake was scary, and it had a lot of good things about it that I liked, that I thought were very Silent Hill ish.
It's creepy. It gives the Silent Hill vibe.
Does.
It's almost a Silent Hill game without being Silent Hill,
Mhm.
without being labeled it, but it's its own entity. So I
Right.
agree with you. They could do those guys could do a Silent Hill game. I would trust them at least, but I don't think Konami's gonna let anybody but them do a Silent Hill
Oh,
game
uh,
if we ever get another one. I think we will.
yeah.
Um, so Silent Hill One, the game. We'll
Mhm.
go the games first. You have Harry Mason, and for those who don't know, what they did was that instead of if you've ever heard the character Perry Mason, they replaced the word Perry with Harry. And he's looking for his wife, we'll say, or sorry, kid. Sorry, that's Silent Hill too. I'm thinking of James Sunderland. That sick son of a bitch. But he's Harry Mason is looking for his kid. He he comes into the town of Silent Hill after crashing. What were your thoughts about this, man?
I thought this game was okay. I was, used to like somewhat horror games, but I never had anything that had a terrifying experience like this game did. Um, I was actually I My brother had it. He bought the PlayStation, and I sneaked and I played his PlayStation because he was gone a lot and would stay a lot at his friends' houses overnight. So I tried the game out myself, and I remember playing it. It was probably about maybe 11 o'clock at night, sometime, or 11 o'clock midnight. And of course, I had the lights off and everything. And that first part, like when you're watching the opening credits, you're seeing the car crash, and then Harry wakes up in the diner,
Yep.
and you hear the radio static. You just don't really know what's going on. And then, I mean, there's the tension. There's a little bit of tension there, but then as you play through the game and you go down the alley where he thinks he sees his daughter Cheryl, and then like you hear the siren and it goes dark, and you're completely alone in the dark. It's raining, and the only light you have is a cigarette lighter. And then there's these creepy looking baby creatures that come out of nowhere, and you're completely surrounded by them. And you're like, what's going on? And you run all over the place, and there's no way out. I mean, that was real terror, real terror. And I loved, playing through the game. There was It's still just an experience like no other. I was actually playing it about a week ago, And I still, over 20 years ago, because that game came out in 99, still feel that same tension. And I feel myself gripping the controller because I'm just, you get that much tension in this game.
You get every bit of tension too in this game too. When you, it's weird because Harry dies,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when he wakes up, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm like,
Uh,
you have, to me, people say, well, what do you prefer, Resident Evil or Silent Hill? And I said, I love Resident Evil to death, but I prefer Silent Hill because of the psychology.
yeah.
And I mean, that game takes your mind and goes, yeah, gotcha, got you. And it's not apologetic for it at all. I mean, when the pterodactyls in the snow, the coming down, and you hear this flapping, like, what the hell? Bam, bam, bam.
And I don't know where I read this, but it seemed like I heard this years ago that they actually brought a psychiatrist or a psychologist on board with Team Silent as a consultant, and they really knew how to input a lot of things that would mess with your psyche and created fear for people of all mentalities, and personalities. I mean, this game really played to your fear. And that's one thing, and I know I'm skipping ahead, that I really loved about uh, Silent Hill Shattered Memories, how the game would adapt and change based on your personality, decisions that you made, and how it would shape shift, according to what would freak you out.
Konami cheated with that.
Mm-hmm.
They cheated hard. And people are like,
Mm-hmm.
what do you mean they cheated? Well, if you played other Konami games, and this is not the only game they did this with. There's another game. I forget what that name of that game was, but Silent Hill Shattered. If you had Konami games saved on your little memory card,
Yeah.
well, the game station reads your memory card, kids and my friends. Well, they're messing with you up here, thinking, "Wait, how do they know that?" Well, because the game station's reading your memory card. That's how they.
And I remember Metal Gear Solid would do that too. Uh,
Right, right,
Also, a Konami game. Yep.
right. It's Silent Hill. Really, to me, it's Hideo Kojima's best game
Mm-hmm.
ever. Like, no offense to Gear Solid, but to me, Silent Hill is his legacy, and it's Konami's legacy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because when someone says Konami, I say Silent Hill.
Yeah.
Now people say, well, when they say Capcom, do you say Resident Evil? I said, no, I gotta say Street Fighter.
No.
Because when I was a kid, I played Street Fighter long before I played Resident Evil. Right? So Silent Hill 1, when they make this game, and it's like the ash, I should say, coming down, the static, the rate. My wife's like, "What's that static?" I'm like, "That's a monster. That's a creature nearby." She
Yeah.
goes, "What?" I'm like,
Mhm.
and then the when you're in the cafe and it goes crashing, she jumps. She's like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, exactly. I did the same thing, and that was such a good mind play when you're in, I guess it's called, like the other world, when everything is dark and rusty and bloody. When you have your flashlight on, there's no light, on the streets and through the town that you're walking through. But when you have your light, that's going to, the other creatures will see you and chase you. But like, you can either do that or walk around in complete darkness and not really see where you're going. And when you do it that way, like that radio that Harry's carrying, when the creatures come near, it starts going off, and the closer they get, the louder it gets. And it's so scary. It is so scary, intense.
And the louder that static gets, the closer they are too, right? That's the sick part about that. So if you have your little lighter, just I'll walk around in the darkness with my radio on. Yeah,
Yeah.
you ain't gonna hear no Elvis Presley on that radio or anything else.
No, 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 not at all.
You're,
Not at all.
you gotta hear the, and then when you hear the louder,
Yeah.
oh shit, you know.
And then you have all these characters like Dahlia Gillespie that they seem to know so much stuff, and they,
Right.
and like all this, crazy. I mean, this sounds like someone that's genuinely insane, but they know exactly what's going on, and it doesn't make much sense at first, until you play through it. I mean, it's just you have all these creepy characters, and then Dr. Kaufman, that he's obviously, he knows something. He's very secretive, and then you have Lisa, that's, uh, she seems caught in the middle of this with Harry, and she doesn't really know what's going on. And there, that's one thing I love about a lot of horror movies. Um, the smaller the cast is usually the better, and
Yeah.
there are people in Silent Hill. You have Sybil, Lisa, Dr. Kaufman, and Dahlia, and that's about it in
Yeah.
this town. And each interaction with them is very, very memorable.
I think that's something the movie did really well too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to jump ahead either. The movie at first it doesn't show a ton of people. It gives you that Silent Hill feel
Mm-hmm.
as every bit of the games did. I think that's what the first movie did so well with.
Gosh, yeah.
You know, and I'm going to ask you about that here in a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
Harry, okay, I got to ask you, Harry Johnson or James Sunderland? Who did you prefer?
Um. Oh my goodness. I would have to say Harry because, um, especially now I can relate to Harry more. Um, as even though I'm a step parent, as a parent, I understand him a little bit more. And he was just, Silent Hill 2 was very much like what Purgatory is like. And it started a trend as like, you're in Silent Hill because you did something wrong. And with Harry, he was just there. And, I think that Harry was a pretty good guy and he never lost sight of why he was there, that, he was trying to find his daughter and that he went through literal hell
Yeah,
and tried to find her.
that's exactly what Silent Hill is too, in every way. It's like literal hell. James Sunderland's ass deserved to be there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And that was such a twist when you're in the hotel and you see that video and
Yeah,
you find out why he's there, because I mean he seems just as every bit as innocent as Harry, and like you feel for him, and he just really impacts you emotionally that he's looking for his wife and looking for his, and is really in love with her and is genuinely concerned and wants her back. And then when you're in the hotel and you see the video, that just turns everything up on its head.
do you remember the old Yahoo chat rooms?
I don't. We where I lived, we never got internet service until 2012. So I'm really late to the game on that stuff.
I have a funny story here for you
Oh,
on this. Okay.
yeah.
I was in a Silent Hill chat room.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And somebody came in as James Sunderland and said, "Hi, James here." And pretty much everyone in the room said, "Fuck off."
Nice, nice. Well, well deserved.
I'm like, you knew the guy who chose that name, or if it was a woman, you never know with Yahoo chat rooms.
Right.
You knew they were coming in for that reason to
Mm-hmm.
just get told, "Go fuck off."
Yeah.
It's like, God, why would like? I'm like, my wife. I'm told my wife. I said, "There's just names you don't mention," and I said, "James Sunderland is a name you just
Right.
don't mention. You just like let it go."
Hmm.
But, but I think what I like about James is most is how his starts off in like a bathroom, and you walk out, and this was him and his wife's favorite place,
Yeah.
Silent Hill,
Hmm.
and you're hearing this metal grinding. Like, what the fuck is that?
Right.
And here's a new character straight out of Kojima's mind in Pyramid Head.
Hmm.
And what a terrifying looking
Yeah,
character it was.
yeah, it was. Um, I, again, I got one of those very late. I didn't get a, but
Mark,
I'm sorry.
you're cutting out, man. Hold on.
Oh, okay, sure.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I was just saying that I got a PlayStation 2 a little bit late as well. I didn't get a PlayStation 2, I think, until 2008 or 2009. And Silent Hill 2 was one of the first games I had on my mind I wanted to get.
Mm.
And I'll never forget when you're in that building and you're up on the second floor, and the hallway is barely lit up and the lights are flickering, and you hear this really creepy, it's like music, but it's kind of like a really loud droning sound. And you look and you see these gates, or like a gate, and Pyramid Head is standing at the other end, on the other side of this gate, and just staring there silently, you know right at you. And you're like, what is that? What
Right.
is it? It's enormous, and it's just standing there, not moving, but you can see it breathing and just staring at you. And I'll never ever forget that. I really felt a chill, and I felt myself actually freeze up when I saw that.
I think the biggest difference with Silent Hill 1 and 2 isn't just its characters, the male characters. I mean, yes, that is a huge difference, but with Sunderland, for the longest time, you feel so alone
Yeah.
because with Masons, you have the pterodactyls coming out of the sky, like
Hmm.
just coming down, like it seems endless at times,
Hmm.
and just like when you hear a click in the gun, oh shit, the gun's empty. But
Right.
then with Sunderland, you see this little, you'd see like this little, what looks like a little, a kid or a woman like jump out in front of you, and it's like, what was that? And then
Right.
you're just walking alone, and you're just waiting for something to happen. And when you go inside, a place, and then something does. Silent Hill 2 really, I think from 1 to 2, they changed things up so nicely for a different character. I think that's what Silent Hill games do beautifully with their characters most of all. That they always seem to change for that character's personality
Mhm.
most.
Right. Like, and I know a lot of people point out Silent Hill 2 as their favorite, but I mean, the layers of psychology in that game,
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, for people to still be talking about it and debate that game, I mean, of the thought process that went into that game. I mean, so many psychology interpretations, so much packed up inside that one game.
Yeah, there's great psychology.
Hmm.
Great. I think that's Silent Hill 1 introduces you to one person's psychological state, and Silent Hill 2 introduces you to someone else's psychological
Yeah,
state, which is even
right,
which is even worse.
right.
So Silent Hill Homecoming, man, I
Hmm.
gotta tell you, for most of it, I like the game.
Hmm.
I just don't love the twist
Yeah.
at all. It's the and I don't want people to get me wrong that look, Silent Hill is full of twists.
Hmm.
Every game, pretty much.
Right.
But they have this guy coming home. He gets, dropped off. Says he's coming home from the war. He's got these dog tags.
Mm-hmm.
And now, if he doesn't do any combat moves at all, you could explain this away.
Right.
But throughout the game, for whatever the hell reason, the game developers decide, no, let's have you do a. And I've never seen, up until this point, and I've never seen a Silent Hill game up until that point where there was just pure combat moves.
Yeah.
I'm talking fist, kicks. So this dude was doing that. They made it to the purpose of you doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to the middle of the game, and this guy's dad is like tied up like this,
mm-hmm.
and here comes the twist: the dog tags aren't the guy's; they're his dad's, and
right.
the guy's in a mental hospital. It's like, wait, what?
Right. The earlier Silent Hill games, it was, your attacks and melee attacks were, what you would do when you ran out of bullets, and it was conserved ammo and all that other stuff. But this one, like you said, it kind of forced you to do hand-to-hand stuff, and it was a whole different mechanic. And I mean, it's cool, but at the same, and I like that. One thing that I will give Homecoming credit for that they didn't do in the other Silent Hill games, when you were overrun by monsters, you could go inside of a door and, you couldn't mess with them anymore. And this one, they'll open the doors and follow you. So I thought that was, and I didn't know that when I played the game. And I thought that was a cool twist, and something because I heard the door open behind me, and I turned around and I was like, that was the thing that I was just fighting and I ran away from, so, thought, that's really good. And I like the mechanic of it, but like you said, the twist. And I that.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up there. I'm sorry. Can you repeat yourself? I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was just saying that, after that twist, I actually never finished, and I hate to admit it that I never finished the game, but I kind of lost interest in it after that twist and just never went back and completed it.
Well, my friend,
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I don't blame you. And here's the thing too with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's so many. Here's Homecoming's biggest issue. Number one, and this isn't an issue. It's a prequel, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
It's a prequel to the original.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always rules about prequels. If you do them, don't fuck them up.
Right.
But when you add a bunch of twists, well, and again, Silent Hill's made for twists. That's something we've been emphasizing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have he was in the Marines, but he's not really in the Marines. That's one. Right. The town mayor, the complete fucking tool dick that he is, right, sold the town's soul to the devil. And yes, the town had a soul.
Right.
Like what? The sold the town's soul to the devil. Like, help me out. Like, and then there's the UFOs. After the third play, the UFOs just come and take the girl, and it's like it's a playable game.
Yeah.
Is what I'll give Homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
But its twist will drive you to pull your hair out and go, why in the world did I finish this game?
Yeah, the critics are good. They had some solid, but yeah, that story kind of makes it not worth the playthrough.
Did you play Silent Hill Downpour?
Unfortunately, I didn't get to, but you made me want to play that. I'm wanting to get that game so much.
That is the one game that redeems a lot of things.
Mhm.
Now, people will bitch about that game. I'll say this: just like in Homecoming, Murphy Pendleton has his own monsters, which is great. They bring the fog back. The radio static is there as well. But I love the fact that they have a actual radio DJ in this game named DJ Bobby Ricks,
Mhm.
and you'll hear music, and then you'll hear static. You'll hear static, music, and it's so neat that they do this. And I love how you can go to the police station in this game and like call the cars back, and you better because there's demons riding around in the cars instead of the cops.
Wow.
So there's a lot to this, like the site, because you're what it is you're a convict
Right.
who's been charged with murder. Well, who killed supposedly, depending on how you play the game, obviously may or may not have killed a guard in the prison. But and the bus crashes, obviously, and that's how you end up in Silent Hill. You go through the entire game, and I love how you're riding the train
Mhm.
into the rest of Silent Hill. There's you're in the first part of like the small town,
Mhm.
which is like the off-put town, and then you go into the rest of the godforsaken place.
Mhm.
And as you're going underneath into the under the mines, the the devil himself, his mouth opens up and speaks to Murphy Pendleton personally, and it is a beautiful, beautiful effect that they did there.
Wow. Oh. Feel-
Yep, it was awesome. I loved it. It was one of the to me that was the best scene in the whole game, and that's like not even the halfway point.
Mhm.
But I think to me the halfway point is DJ Bobby Ricks. When you get to him, that to me is your halfway point. And I like that scene too.
Mhm.
But after the devil scene, it's like, oh my god, like you're in for it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I would if I rank, and I want to get your ranking. So what? How do you rank the games?
Um. Okay. I can only rank the ones that I've played, which is one, two, three. Origins. Um. And Shattered Memories.
Mhm.
And, um. Which I guess I'm not going to count the PT demo. Um. I'm going to say I liked one and Shattered Memories the same.
Okay.
I really love both of those games, and um, my favorite would be Silent Hill 3.
Mhm.
That was really hard to place it, and I love continue the Silent Hill 2, and then I would have to say Origins, and even though I didn't complete the game, I'll say Homecoming after that, and those ones that I played.
Right. I will go. The Room is good.
Hmm.
Like Silent Hill, The Room is really good, and it belongs on a list. I can't put it ahead of the first two,
Yeah.
but I'll put it right above. I'll go one and two are tied to me.
Hmm.
I love, yes, Sunderland is an asshole. Everybody knows that, but
His journey is fantastic.
right, it's beautiful. It's a hell of a journey, literally. And you have this. Then to me, I'd go The Room. Then I'd go. I would tie literally three, Downpour and Shattered Memories, and then Homecoming would just be last. Because Homecoming to me, though it's not again, when people say, "Well, you're putting the worst game last," always. And when I hear the words "worst game," I go, "It's not necessarily the worst game ever.
Right,
It's
right.
not. It just gives you Silent Hill Homecoming throws everything, and it throws so many kitchen sinks at you that it's not even funny.
Right.
And that's sort of what takes away from it.
Mm-hmm.
If they give you less twist or more, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something the ones we just mentioned with
Mm-hmm.
1, 2 memories, Downpour,
Mm-hmm.
3. That's what those do most. It's
Right.
less is more, not more is more and great.
And the payoff is great for those.
Yes, yes, absolutely. What did you think of Silent Hill the movie?
And I would, and I know it's not saying much to say that I think it's the greatest video game movie ever made because people travel across the whole feel at all like a video game, a genuine horror movie.
I'm so
Oh my
here.
god! Again,
Here, that I'm sorry.
yeah, that's fine. I was just saying that I feel like to say that it's the greatest video game ever made to film, may not sound like a compliment to people because video game movies generally get bad reviews. But this does not feel like a video game at all. Like if anyone that knows nothing about the game, um, that just watched this movie, like Lynn, my wife, we watched Silent Hill together, and she was like, "This is a video game."
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. I said, the video game was a little bit scarier because it's more interactive. You're in the shoes of the person that's going through and exploring, and there's more they can do with the game than they can, to fit into a 2-hour movie. But I mean, it's a great horror movie in its own right. And it's the setting and just the look and the feel of this movie, they got it right.
I think they did everything correctly
Yeah.
for the most part. The only nitpick I have of this film, and it's not really big because I get why they did it,
Mhm.
because of familiarity.
Mhm.
They took Harry Mason's story and James Sunderland's story, and they sort of make it this woman's story to a degree.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them for that. I
Mhm.
get why, because you're is it the best video game movie ever made? Absolutely, it is. It's the best story ever told. The sets are amazing. How they did the town, the creatures, the nurses, Pyramid Head, everything about this film is amazing from start to finish. It's every bit a Silent Hill movie. It's the best tribute you could have did to a game ever.
Yeah.
Even more so than the Mortal Kombat movie that was made in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with you. It doesn't sound like a big compliment, but it is.
Yeah.
And I love the behind the scenes where Justin Beam, him and his crew were talking to the director, and they were talking about the sets and how they would do them, and it was like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love how they had the siren in the movie.
Yeah.
Everything that literally was in those games is in this film. And that's the best thing you can have for a video game that's being made into a film is the person who's making it making sure that everything isn't forced in there. It fits so naturally
Yeah.
that it looked like it was always meant to be on film.
Yeah. But, you know, I watched the uh, Dr. Rose, uh, first walk through town. Uh, like, every-
I'm I'm sorry, you were cutting out. I'm sorry. Can you
yeah, sure. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, no, it's fine. Um, I've I've got a habit of rewinding when Rose is walking through Silent Hill for the first time and just watching it, over and over because I mean that scene is so good. And the ash falling, welcome to Silent Hill sign, um and they play the exact music from the games, which is perfect. They got the same composer from the games to do the movie, which I loved. And um, when Rose wakes up, okay, well, let me back it up a minute. When Rose is walking through and you see her going down the staircase, you hear that siren crank.
Mm.
And, because I played the games, I knew what that meant. And, I loved watching Lynn's expression when she was watching this for the first time and she, knows nothing about the games. She was like, "What's that?" And then you see everything go completely dark. And then, just like Harry Mason, all she had was a lighter in her pocket. And you see her walking down the stairway, and they do the exact same camera angles, when Harry walks down the alleyway. There's so much care that went into this movie. But that, I felt a heaviness in my chest when that siren sounded, because I knew what that was meant and what was coming. And then when Sharon wakes up in the diner, just like Harry did, and you hear Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire, I was like, there is no more perfect song they could play than that.
Right, right.
That was so good. That was such a good thing. I loved it.
I love how they introduced Sybil Bennett in the movie.
Yeah.
She follows her to Silent Hill. That
Hmm.
was never done in the game.
Right.
I think that is such a great. I knew who it was when I saw her at the gas station.
Hmm.
I knew. You know what I mean? I knew who it was.
Right.
Thinking, oh wow, are they going to introduce Sybil Bennett that way,
Hmm.
where she follows them instead of just being there?
Yeah.
And it made so much sense to
Hmm.
sort of make Sybil Bennett sort of their own in a roundabout way. And I love it for it. I
Hmm.
love it. And I love how the actors and actresses in this movie just did a beautiful job.
Yeah. I,
Beautiful.
I'm so glad they cast Laurie Holden as Sybil. I can't imagine anyone else playing it any better.
I can't either. The way she did it, just
Mm-hmm.
all of it, like from motorcycle to coming to Silent Hill,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the monsters, her death is, oh my God,
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
it was.
It
It's
really was.
I love before they go into church, Pyramid Head just rips off the woman's skin like.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. Until the end of the movie, you don't see much death in silent in the Silent Hill film. It's not about a lot of gore and a body count like a typical horror film. Um, but the deaths that are there are very unique and over the top. And when Pyramid Head grabs that woman's skin and just rips the skin and flings it at the door, you're just like, I my jaw dropped and was just like, what did I just see happen? Because it happened so fast, it takes a minute to process what happened.
I think right. It's just like holy shit. That was
Yes.
it was amazing. I think the film, what it does best, it brings every bit of psychology the games did,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
that's the best compliment too I can give it with that if you can take that game,
Mm.
specifically that game, and turn it into a movie that looks so damn right,
Yeah.
you can do that to any game.
Hmm.
And Silent Hill is living proof that you can make that happen.
Hmm.
And you just need the people who did Silent Hill. I think they're going to do another one. The who did the first one. I think they're talking about doing another one, and I hope they do.
Yeah, it's Christophe Gans. He's a French director,
Yep.
and I think another compliment I can give to the movie was I really loved the transition from you know the normal world to the dark world, how things would kind of flake, and then everything would kind of come back together. And I think that Homecoming copied that,
Yeah.
and that was something that future games did. And I think that's a good compliment to the movie, that they liked the special effect that was in the movie so much that they brought it into the games, for future installments.
Downpour does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever play Downpour, it does the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think the movie, and usually video game movies inspire games to be to they didn't do ours justice.
Mm-hmm.
This movie does the whole thing justice, and
I
then
I agree 100%. I uh, What did you think of Christabella?
what was that? I'm sorry.
What did you think of Christabella, the leader of the church?
Very good. Very, very. Just I love the sell job.
Hmm.
Church, just because you're always told about just because someone's the leader of a church or a group of religious people,
Hmm.
you've always been told that doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Right.
Silent Hill and the actress plays on that so beautifully. I
Hmm.
love the heel turn because you even though you're sort of weirded out about her a little bit when you first meet her. You
Hmm.
don't pick up that she's evil, so
Right.
the turn is shocking, and
Yeah.
you're like, "You bitch!"
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly. And I thought, it was a really neat twist, like when Rose goes in to the bathroom, and just a lot of the scenery, like, and she finds the guy that was the janitor, um, inside there, and you see him like covered in barbed wire and stretched out, and then he comes to life and starts coming after her. They got the creatures right in
yeah,
this, and the the makeup job that they did and prosthetics they used was spot on.
I love the nurses in the
Yeah.
movie. I love that. That's amazing. Just
Hmm.
they did everything. Like this movie is literally a 10. Like
Yeah,
straight up.
I agree.
Even though my issue with it is breeding those characters and using them, but I get why.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
I could forgive that.
Hmm.
But so if they do, because Silent Hill, the sequel to this was not so good. You know,
No, it was such a disappointment. I think they cast great people,
they
but
did.
uh, oh man, they got a new director and a new script writer, and I just I ugh, it's so sad. And if you can't have Malcolm McDowell in your movie and make it a good movie, then there's something wrong.
I think the biggest issue with it too is with the sequel, where the original not just took you there, and once they got you there, you felt you were in Silent Hill. I didn't get that feeling with the sequel.
Me
Even
neither.
though like you're there, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I just didn't have that same vibe.
Right.
That
I didn't. If To me, it felt like if you were in, because it just seemed like Heather was going, you know, from random room to room, almost like you were in a Silent Hill funhouse, and
yeah,
you were just walking from room to room, done, almost the theme park.
yeah, it's really crazy. It's amazing that they did one film so great, and then they get a new director. And it's like, what? Why
Right.
didn't you just bring back the same people to do the sequel? And it's mind boggling as hell. It really is.
And I want to go back and bring up something, where you talked about the nurses. That wasn't in the game. I mean, the nurses were in the game, but like that they wouldn't activate or animate and move unless they heard sound.
Right.
And that was such a tense scene, and I'm glad that there was no music. It got like deathly quiet when Rose had to walk through that hallway to try to get to where not Dahlia, uh, Cheryl was,
Right.
and I mean not Cheryl, Alessa.
That's
Alessa,
it.
that was her name. Um, and she had to walk through that long hallway with all those nurses in there and not make a sound, or else she would have been attacked brutally. And I thought that was a really really cool original thing to do with those nurses.
It really was.
Mm.
It's sex and death are scary. And
Yeah.
that's something Silent Hill was always in the games portrayed too. But in
Mhm.
the movie, they turned that up way up really well, and have these nurses that are just, it's like, oh shit, like, and they, like you said, they go off sound. It's like just
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's like don't make a sound. Don't, yeah.
what's the one movie or you want to see remade?
Um, video game movie or horror movie or
We'll go video game movie.
let's see, video game movie. Hmm. Uh, I have no problem with the Mortal Kombat. Um, and that already got remade.
Yep.
Um, the Tomb Raider movie. I like both Tomb Raider movies. I would really like to. See, I would really like to see the sequel to Silent Hill get remade.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, really.
I don't think the movie was necessarily the movie I'm about to mention, and people are going to kill me for this. I sort of like the '90s version,
Hmm.
but I do want to see it get remade. Super Mario Brothers,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and I think that's the one thing that, because here's what people don't know too. Bob Hoskins,
Hmm.
when Brian Sinner was like talking about doing X-Men, he wanted it to do it in the '80s
Yeah.
originally, and who he wanted to cast as Wolverine was Bob Hoskins. When they,
Really?
yeah, when he wanted to do it in the '80s back when,
Uh huh.
and he wanted to cast Bob Hoskins, and I sort of get why,
Hmm.
because Hoskins could be a roughhouse in
Hmm.
certain the way he could move his body,
Right.
so I get why. It's amazing.
I had no idea. Wow. Uh,
So it's just, I really, to me, the best thing they could do with Silent Hill from a movie standpoint is make a proper sequel to the first one.
mhm. I agree. And I would like to get all the cast back together. And even though I wasn't a fan of Silent Hill Revelation, I would like to see Adelaide Clemens return as Heather. I thought it was a really good cast.
I wouldn't even mind, if they could. Again, it's not the cast's fault that the movie was bad, right? That's something you and I've talked about before with other films. Cast actors and actresses are generally doing a job.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they get directors and producers who, well, they think they know best, and well, they don't.
Right.
Unfortunately, um, Jackie Earl Haley.
Exactly. Poor guy.
Right. I mean, just uh, it sucks that it happens.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really does, because the first thing I hear out of everybody, oh, the actor, and I'm just like, timeout.
Right.
The actor, the guy in front of the camera,
Mhm.
didn't write that shit.
Right.
The people, and my wife asked me, why does everybody? I said, because here's the thing: you see the person in front of the camera,
Hmm.
you don't see the people behind it.
Right.
So it's easier to assign blame to who you're seeing.
Exactly. That's exactly.
And that's the sad fact of it. Me, being the asshole I am, I look behind the camera. My wife, she did the same thing. She's like, "You're so wrong with me." I'm like, there is, honey.
Nah, nah. That's just how it is, though. It really is.
Right? You can't. It's the same thing with Silent Hill Revelations. You can't. The people who were in front of the camera, they're trying to sell this
Mhm.
what they were given,
Mhm.
and what they were given, though it was horrible.
They tried to make the best of it that they could.
Right? There's so many. Revelations is not for sure not going to be the first. It wasn't the first film, and it damn sure won't be the last. Where actors are in front of a camera and they're literally selling their ass off, and what they're selling is the worst shit ever.
Yeah, and it's sad when they probably realize that it is, but they're doing the best they can.
It's sort of Al Pacino has been in some stinkers, and
Yeah,
he's one of the greatest actors out there
right.
ever. Like just it's sort of something that I've always heard. Just because someone's a star, like a
Mhm.
big time star, it doesn't mean the movie's going to be great. It depends on a lot of times on the script and what they have to work with.
Mhm.
And that's something where you've seen that now and so many times, and not just in Revelations. We've talked about Rob Zombie's Halloween's and the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Unfortunately, it's just the actors get it in the teeth,
Yeah,
and that's just it's awful that they do.
it is.
You know, so
And when I heard that Malcolm McDowell was going to be in Silent Hill Revelation, I had high hopes and was thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be great." And then,
could you see him if Dark Shadows, if the new Dark Shadows series finds a home?
mhm.
Could you see him in that?
Oh, absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
I could too. I would love for him to be sort of like the dickhead, like antagonist of the Collins family a bit,
Mhm.
because he knows how to be one. I mean,
Oh,
he's
yeah,
on camera.
it does.
I mean, Malcolm McDowell. If no one has seen A Clockwork Orange, Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange, go see it,
Mhm.
and don't show it to your kids.
Right. It's singing in the rain for you, that's for sure.
Right, right, right. Like there are films I won't show to my kids quite
Mm.
yet. That is one of them. Because they're not ready for that.
Right, right.
It's
Well,
like
that's a good parent. Right,
they're ready for the Jaws and the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th, sure, but
right.
that nah,
Not yet.
not quite, right? Not quite.
Right.
Is with a potential of a new Dark Shadow series, right?
Hmm.
Is there is there is there an actor or actress you want to see that come aboard the series?
Uh, I can, like we Malcolm McDowell, would love to see him come in. Um, I would love to see Daisy Ridley.
Yeah,
I love to. Uh, mm, I don't think it'll ever happen, but I would love to see Benedict Cumberbatch. But I know he's really tied up with Marvel right now. Um, and, um, well, um, mm, I would love to see Heather Langenkamp brought into Dark Shadows.
yeah. I could see. It, I think you and John showed
Mm.
me pictures of Heather Langenkamp, and John was saying, "Couldn't you see her as Victoria's daughter?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
could."
absolutely.
It's like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could. Yes, I could. And that's just how great Heather Langenkamp is. That she could sell that no problem.
Absolutely.
I mean, just I think whether Heather Langenkamp joins a TV series, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's Dark Shadows or anything else, I damn sure assure you it depends on if Warner Brothers new and slash New Line announce a new Nightmare on Elm Street, because I get the feeling that if they do, they're going to try to get her and Robert to come back,
Mm-hmm.
one last time. Now, whether they do that or not, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think a lot of franchises are copying Halloween right now.
Mm-hmm.
Leprechaun did it. Leprechaun did the 40-year jump. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't do a great job, in my opinion. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre is doing the 40-year jump. They're headed to Netflix, but so it'll be interesting to see what story they tell going off of theirs. And I was saying this to another friend of mine. I said, just because one franchise had success with a retcon
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean you follow in their footsteps.
Right. Right.
Right? It, something I've always told anybody: if like write your story,
Mm-hmm.
not someone else's.
Right.
Going off the pretext of what someone else already did.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you do that, you're just mirroring them.
Yeah.
Like when I read somebody something wrote, I'm like, okay, I cannot do what this person just did.
Mm-hmm.
If I was to write, like, if I was when I read your Phoenix story, if I was to write a Phoenix story, I'd be like, I cannot do what Mark just did,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what he did.
Right.
If they went, I've talked about this with John. I said, John, man, when I read your stuff, I said it's great. I said, and when I was writing my Dark Shadows at the time, when I cannot do it, I kept telling myself I can't do what John was. I can't do what John was. But and that's the thing. You have to stay your own course,
Right. And
because if you, to me, the biggest crime I think being committed now is everybody's just copying Halloween,
mm-hmm.
just to get a product out,
Right.
and
Just like
that
at the beginning of the 80s.
right, yeah, it's history repeats itself all too often,
Yeah.
and it's not always a great thing to repeat it. Where
Right.
where in the 80s you had other things coming out like RoboCop and Rambo and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that to sort of go off a difference of. To
Mm-hmm.
me, even the Marvel movies aren't enough of a distraction to see what horror is really doing.
Right.
That's ripping off of Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, great. Halloween had great success.
Mm-hmm.
But, if I was in that room, I'd be like, that was them.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be us.
Right.
We need to do what we do, not what they're doing.
Right.
And that's something I would have been screaming for. And again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre could be a great Netflix movie. It's going to Netflix. It could be a great film, sure, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But when Leprechaun did it, I'm like, I like some of Leprechaun, but there's things I don't like. It's
Yeah.
like it wasn't your. It felt like the first movie to go, oh, we're going to do the same thing Halloween did, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, yeah, yeah, that's not always the best solution to do that though.
Right.
Time jump with Halloween, you have to have, Halloween did it because to them they had a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They waited 40 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see what Kills tells us and shows, because I know you're excited. So
Much so. Very much so.
I will be watching it on VOD. I'll be waiting for it to come to VOD because all the theaters around here are shut down in my county. Um,
Yeah. I'm hoping that they're still going to be open. It's hard to tell because we've got another month, and
right.
it's hard to tell if they're going to. Who knows what can happen? Because if anything, this last year and a half has taught me a lot can happen in 2 or 3 weeks.
It can, right? It's just
Yeah.
the insanity of everything around us.
Hmm.
And something I agree with what Don Schmidt said, like last night. We need a distraction
Yeah,
more than ever. We need dark shadows to
we
pick
do.
up with
And it
some
was a great episode, by the way. I've been listening to it all day.
that
It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And if you're listening, hey Don.
you you and I did the 3 movies together, correct? That was you and me, right?
The 3 movie. Yeah, we did. Uh huh.
3 Dark Shadows. Okay, I was like, I know I did that with Mark.
Yeah.
My age is showing, man. But
Hey.
I gotta show you what I picked. Did you see what I picked up from Spirit Halloween? The Beetlejuice.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. I love it.
I don't
That
know
is
if you can see it glowing. It
uh
glows. It like lights up in the mouth.
very cool.
So there's get your butt to Spirit Halloween, Mister.
Yeah. I think I made a tweet earlier today that I it opened up just below my house and I haven't been yet. And um, I've been working a lot of overtime this week, and all I wanted to do today was sleep, which I didn't do, but I just didn't feel like doing much of anything today. So I'm definitely going to go there this weekend, though.
Lynn, if you listen to this, time to the hood of the car.
But keep, because I'll go crazy in there.
Right. Listen, I kid you not.
Mm-hmm.
Last year I dropped 300 in there. This
Mm-hmm.
year I dropped another 300 in there, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah, it's easy to do. It
It is.
is.
It is. It's just like we spent how much now? My wife's like, because here's the thing, kids' costumes. My son's gonna be the green M&M.
Oh, awesome.
My wife, I love what my wife did because she bought vampire paint because my daughter's gonna be a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
But there's green paint that came with it, and she's
Mm-hmm.
gonna use the green paint with that. And we bought the M&M hands at Spirit, and
Uh-huh.
the M&M costume is literally a shirt, green shirt with M&M, a beanie.
Uh-huh.
You have to buy the gloves separate, obviously. And my wife's gonna paint his face green, and
Oh,
I
that's
can't wait.
cute.
I can't wait to dress them up because I'll be sending pictures to you guys. You'll
Oh,
see it.
dude. Yeah.
It's like,
Please. I love it.
right. He's like, Dad, I'm gonna be the green M&M. I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, be the green M. Yeah, be the
Yeah,
green M. It's
that's great. That's awesome.
like I'm like, you know what this is? I said, this is basically our son's. Like, he's gonna go to everybody. Can I have an M&M? Could I have it? Because I know my son. Like, hit the my wife had a bag of M&Ms, and my
Uh-huh.
son went right up. Mom, can I have a green M&M? Can I have an M&M? And it's like,
Aw.
and I'm like, he's like, please. I'm like, yeah, Kevin. Well, we're going outside anyway. He's gonna blow. He's gonna run off the sugar.
Right.
Um,
Halloween, that was the first thing I went for. If I had it in my trick or treat bag when I was a kid, I went for the M&Ms first.
for whatever reason, in my neighborhood,
Hmm.
when I was growing up, they would give us a lot of bubble gum, and I think
Hmm.
it was just because of the blow pops, the blow pop suckers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because those had gum in them, so
Hmm.
you would
Oh
get
yeah,
them, and then you would get like the small wrapper gum,
yeah,
and then I'm pretty sure they still sell this. I might be mistaken, but Bazooka Joe.
yeah, yeah. They still got Bazooka Joe and Double Bubble and that stuff. Yeah.
Right. And so we would get a lot of bubble gum.
Hmm.
And I kid you not, my mom, she was checking our candy and she goes, one time when we were kids, and she, out of her own mouth, she goes, "Where the fuck is the chocolate in this?" I'm like, "What?" And my brother's like, "Did you just like do not repeat me?" And I was just like, because you got to check for the glass and all that shit. My
Mhm.
mom's like going through the candy, and she's just like, "Where the fuck's the chocolate? Like, there's gum here."
See, you know, like I always thought like there was a little bit of conspiracy with parents checking your candy because I thought that they were just like checking out your stash to see what you got. And then when you went to school the next day, they'd raid it and like, take it because they knew what you had in the bag. So I always thought there was like a little bit of a conspiracy with parents checking your candy. They just wanted to know what you had.
I always used to tell people, I'm like, yeah, don't come when I lived with my mom and them. I'm like, yeah, don't come to my house asking for candy.
Mhm.
And they're like, well, I'm like, yeah, my parents, they ate it, okay? They ate it. They ate it. You think there's candy in there? No, no, man, no, hell no. You want candy? Hey, I got some in the bag. Come down by the old video store. I'll give you some candy. But
There you
don't go knocking on my parents' door. There's no candy in there. It's all gone. It's all gone. And it's just parents, parents. When we were growing up,
hmm
it's like you could not leave your candy unattended
hmm
ever. It's like ever. And
Right.
awful. It's
Right.
awful. It's like you see these stores like in the mall. They would pass out candy.
hmm
And I remember like the mall used to have the most scariest Halloween costume,
Oh,
and like there would be an event for that
hmm
shit, and like they'd give you this candy, and that it's funny. That's where you get used to get the most chocolate is the mall,
yeah.
because there used to be a chocolate store. Well, there still is a chocolate store in my mall,
hmm
but Jean and Boots is what it is, and
hmm
they would be like, "Oh, here's chocolate," and what it would be pure fudge,
hmm
pure instant sugar. It's
Stuff.
like you will be running around for a while once you have it, my friend.
Absolutely.
Oh my god, right? But yeah, it just think when you get near this time, you're thinking about all those times you were a kid, and then you see your own kids get trick or treating. And I'm sure you've seen your stepkids trick or treat. Right?
hmm
It's just like, yeah, yeah, your candy's safe with me, and your kids will look at you like, what? No,
Yeah.
no,
Right.
right?
Yeah. They know better with me now. So.
Pretty soon, kids are going to start inventing little traps for parents, where it's
hmm
you don't think it's a trap, and you got to reach for the candy. Bam, your fingers pinch it. It's like, no, this isn't funny. That'll be. That's what that'll be.
Yeah.
The kids are so smart. It's like they'll be setting up homemade traps to protect their candy,
That's
and they'll literally have to disarm the traps to protect.
exactly. I feel like I'm in a Saw movie to get a piece of candy.
Do I hear Tobin Bell's voice?
Exactly. That's awesome.
It is. It is. Oh my god. Is there anything you want to add before we go?
Um, I just want to tell everybody, don't let thinking a video game movie um, is what you're going to get when you see Silent Hill. Watch the first Silent Hill movie. It's to every horror fan. I think it's a must see.
Before we go, I'm sorry if you heard Mark cut out a bit. That was Skype's fault, not anyone else. Skype can be a bitch, everybody.
Yeah, very true.
It really can. It's like it can go great one day, and then it's like, wait, what?
Right.
It's just I think the best thing too with Silent Hill, that this movie should let Hollywood know, hey, it can be done correctly.
Yeah.
Don't rush your product, and don't make a shitty sequel off of a great product that was already made.
Mm-hmm.
Revelations. And I think that's the thing we've talked about too, that if you get people involved who really give a shit,
Yeah.
it's going to be done correctly.
Yeah.
And that's something, I want with every video game franchise. I love the Sonic the Hedgehog movie with Jim Carrey, and they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to see part 2 of that.
Yeah.
So I think, I said Super Mario Brothers, but Double Dragon is another one that comes to mind that I felt sort of didn't live up to what they could have did.
Yeah.
But Resident Evil Homecoming or Welcome to Raccoon City is coming out this winter in November. I'm excited to watch that.
Same.
And if you've never read the George A. Romero script, go read it.
Mm-hmm.
It's George A. Romero, to me, the best movie he never got to make was that script.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest crime maybe Hollywood, well, not the biggest, but it's one of the biggest crimes Hollywood ever committed.
God.
That when I read that, I'm like, holy shit. I sent that to you. I sent that to John. I sent that to another friend of mine, Dave Shore. He read that. He goes, George A. Romero, no shock that, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, yeah, I know. I said, those fucking bastards. Why? Why, God? Why? It's like, how does stuff bad get greenlit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't get greenlit at all. And it's like, oh my God. But I swear I'm done complaining. But
No, you're fine, man. No, we're just talking. I'm enjoying it.
and it's weird, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because me and another friend of mine, Daniel Culver, we were talking about this too. I said, he said, why do you think it didn't get approved? I said, there's so many reasons it could have been. And some people have speculated it was George A. Romero's age. I honestly think Hollywood secretly has always had a vendetta against Romero
Mm-hmm.
because Romero made low budget horror really, really to me popular before anyone else did.
Yeah.
Even Hitchcock didn't do that low budget. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? He did low budget, sure, but
Mm-hmm.
Hitchcock got enough Hollywood budget enough times to, you know, where Romero with the original Crazies, Return of the Living, Night of the Living Dead,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't get that Hollywood big budget. He had to work with what he had and was successful with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it pisses Hollywood off that he did.
Right.
And then you see movies that he did get a decent budget for in Day of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead, and those were great.
Mm-hmm.
So with or without a budget, that man made it work.
Right.
And I think secretly it pissed Hollywood off. And it's funny because Hollywood seems to remake his movies the most. His movies have been remade. I know John Carpenter's movies have been going through the remake phase here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, the director who gets remade most is Romero.
Yeah.
And I think it's because Hollywood didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I could be wrong, but that's my opinion. That's just
Yeah.
how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to remake something and pay homage to a guy. But when you keep remaking something to remake it, it's not homage anymore. You're just walking all over the guy's creation
Mm-hmm.
enough times. I love Tom Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 version. If you've ever seen it, it's really good. It's in color. I think
Mm-hmm.
he did a great job
Mm-hmm.
paying homage to a great director who was still alive at the time and yet made his own film in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Enough of his own film to where, wow, this really looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look bad. And that's the one remake I think did do Romero homage well.
Hmm.
Where there's been others where, again, they were good, but I always felt that they were just being made because, well, Hollywood felt they could do a better job than what he did. But what they don't go tell anybody is, well, Ramiro didn't have that budget that you're having now,
Right.
that you're having today. You have a way more budget than what he ever dreamed about having for the
Right.
Crazies, for Night of the, if Night of the Living Dead got remade today,
Hmm.
the budget for it would be exponentially high.
Oh
They
yeah.
they would spare no expense.
No, I would say it wouldn't be anything less than probably 75 to 100 million.
Right. And to me, unless Blumhouse made it and they wanted to do it cheap, because
Hmm.
I could see, because they did Halloween 2018 pretty cheaply,
Yeah.
and were successful with it.
Mhm.
And that would be probably the one exception. But to me now, if a major studio, even more so, got a hold of, George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, they would just be like, well, we're going to put a high budget and we're going to make the movie. And it's like, yeah, Romero didn't have that kind of high budget.
No.
It's just, and that's something I'll always be appreciative of him, of high budget or not. That man gave you one hell of a story every
Yeah.
time. Like,
Hmm.
there's never been a Romero film I've seen where I've turned off.
Hmm.
And that's the best compliment I can ever give a director,
Absolutely.
you know. But Mark, my friend,
Hmm.
thank you, thank you, thank you,
Thank.
thank you so much for coming on, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And
Oh,
and I'm gonna bring Mark back on again because, hey, October next month we're gonna talk horror all.
all month long. All
So
month long.
we what we really got to talk about is the original Night of the Living Dead. That's something you and I really got to talk about
Yeah.
because what a film!
Yes, it
What
is.
what a film! So the next time me and Mark come on, Night of the Living Dead, my friend, is what we're going to be
Good.
discussing. And Lynn, watch yourself, girl.
Her favorite film of all time. She loves it.
Really?
Really, that's her favorite film.
We need to have her and you on at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and her discussing this with us. We
Mm-hmm.
really do. We
That was
really
awesome.
That would be a lot of fun to do. So I'll have to get you guys both on to the night you're off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get Lynn on here with you, and
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna talk Night of the Living Dead.
That sounds awesome.
Because I love George A. Romero's movies, and Night of the Living Dead was the first movie I saw of his. That's of all the movies that he had. My
Mm-hmm.
mom showed me that one like shortly after John Carpenter's Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, my mom's like, this was made by a guy from Pittsburgh, PA, named George A. Romero, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my god, this is creepy as hell.
Yeah, and I
And
love what the Elrods were watching at the beginning of Halloween too.
right, right,
I
right.
love that.
Well, John, here's the thing. I think that was Carpenter because him and Romero were friends. So, but next time me, Mark, and Lynn, yes, you, Lynn, we come on, we're gonna talk Night of the Living Dead. Mark, man, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too, man. Bye bye.
All right, bye.